Right now, the testimony continues inside the courtroom, and right now, the prosecution is asking Michael Cohen about a few others who he was in contact with, people like Robert Costello, who was an attorney who represented Cohen or was involved in Cohen's affairs for a while, also was close to Rudy Giuliani. And Cohen says after the raid, he obviously heard about it, so he connected myself, this other man, connected him and Robert Costello together for the possibility of representing me in this matter. And Hoffinger asked, did Mr. Trump tell you anything about Costello's background? Cohen, he told me he was a criminal defense attorney and incredibly close to Rudy Giuliani, met him at the Regency. And Hoffinger says, tell the jury about your conversation. Cohen, I was distraught, nervous, concerned. He asked me to describe what had happened. And it was many hours. Many agents came. They took a series of books, documents, and I gave them the receipt of what was taken, referring to the FBI agents. And with that, they turned around and they said, there's certain things that you need to know. First is that you have to obviously try to remember what's in those boxes. There are certain things I need to know and to try to remember what they might be looking for. And then they asked me, to Robert Costello, for my representation. Again, some of these notes are coming from our reporters in the courtroom, haven't been cleaned up yet. Hoffinger, did he tell you about his ties to Giuliani? Cohen, as close as you can imagine. And that would be a relationship that would be very beneficial to you going forward with this matter. Cohen continues to say Mr. Giuliani at the time had a very close relationship and was spending a tremendous amount of time with Mr. Trump. Cohen, he said this would be a great way to have a back channel to the president to make sure you're still good and still secure. We're hearing a lot more from Cohen about other people. Like, I mean, in this testimony today, we're hearing about, you know, Jeff Sessions, Robert Costello, Rudy Giuliani. Maya, what is the prosecution trying to do? And is there any problem with bringing all these new players into the conversation before the jury?
Yeah, I mean, my guess is what prosecutors are trying to do is really underscore, I think Misty said this earlier, this point that Michael Cohen has changed from the guy who was protecting Donald Trump to the guy who is now being honest about what he did with and for Donald Trump and at Donald Trump's direction, and that this is part of the color around why and the power of it all and what kept him loyal in one period and then shifts him in another. I mean, if you remember, Hope Hicks also testified about how Michael Cohen and how Trump describes Michael Cohen as a guy seeking to protect him. So there's also some corroboration for this point from other witnesses. But I think the thing that the prosecution has to be very concerned with is overwhelming the jury with facts, people, and information that distract them from the primary things they need to be focused on in this case. You know, these are people who have their own lives, who are committing a tremendous amount of time, and from everything we're hearing, giving a tremendous amount of attention to a lot of detail over a lot of days. And what you really want to make sure the jury remembers are the most important things for the jury to remember.
Interesting, Misty, because and talk about shifts, one of the people that are being mentioned now that every jury member no doubt knows about and has an opinion on whether there was a massive shift or not is Rudy Giuliani.
Especially in New York,
I think every New Yorker definitely knows Rudy Giuliani. Absolutely. And some of the risk of bringing up some of these people and reasons for prosecutors to do so might be what they're anticipating the defense attorneys are going to want to bring up on cross-examination, whether it be public statements. We know with Costello, he had said that Cohen told him he would do anything it takes to stay out of jail, and the connection with Rudy Giuliani. So there's a lot of reasons why they might be laying the foundation now. But you do take a risk when you're bringing all these people in by name, but the jury's not going to hear from them. And so the jury might wonder,
what's that risk?
Because the jury might wonder, okay, so we're talking about all these people being part of this group involved with Donald Trump. But why aren't we actually hearing from those individuals if they're so important to this case or if they involve Michael Cohen? Because the jury's going to look at not only what they see, but sometimes they'll think about what they didn't see if they keep hearing these names over and over and over again.
So I think that's a really important point, Misty, that you're making. And I would say I would be less concerned, particularly with people like Jeff Sessions. I think the jury would understand why they're probably not hearing from Jeff Sessions. I think the critical one for the jury is going to be Weisselberg.
Yes.
Where is he?
Where is Weisselberg?
Right.
And remember, we had that the exchange out of the hearing of the jury, but where there was the discussion about that with prosecutors and defense attorneys about why they didn't just subpoena Weisselberg. Why don't they talk to him about coming in? Because if you're the jury, you're like, well, this is a guy who was in the room when it happened. This is a name we're hearing repeatedly. We're looking at his signature on documents. Why isn't he here corroborating Michael Cohen?
I mean, is it worth the risk if you are the prosecutor to call him, knowing he has lied for Donald Trump under oath before and is willing to go to prison for lying
He's
under
in
oath?
prison.
Currently.
Currently.
And might take the
perjury.
fifth to every question,
Right.
realistically.
But
But if he
remember-
took the fifth to every question, is that such a bad thing for the prosecution to have that happen before the jury?
I think this is the whole debate that the lawyers were having, that prosecutors were having with themselves. My point is the jury doesn't know that, right? They're not hearing
And they won't
that,
know it.
and they won't know it.
So how do you, Danny, if you're a defense attorney, keep the jury from knowing that? And then how do you best utilize that?
I think you make Alan Weisselberg a central theme of your closing. And if you're going to use images, I can think of a few so far that might be helpful with this theme. You put up an image of that contract we heard about days ago, the one that was signed by Stormy Daniels, Keith Davidson, Michael Cohen, and then a signature line that was glaringly empty where Donald Trump's signature never was put on the piece of paper. So you put that up on the overhead, the Elmo, whatever imaging they use, as an exhibit. Then you move to all the papers with Alan Weisselberg's literal handwriting and signature on them. And you make this about, there are documents in this case, and there's a lot of handwriting and a lot of signatures, but you don't see a lot of Donald Trump. Now, the problem with that is you have checks with Donald Trump's signature on them. But the key documents, you might be able to sway some jurors. I want to make clear, I'm not saying that this is a compelling argument. I'm not saying that this argument even passes the ha-ha test. It may not for many people watching. But all you need is one juror to hang their hat on that. And the one recurring theme throughout trial practice is that jurors seize on the most random things. You never know what they're going to grab onto. And to me, that's exactly, you show an image of a document with everyone's signature except Trump, and you never know who's going to seize on that. You show an image of a document with Weisselberg's handwriting all over it, and you make that a point at closing. Where was Alan Weisselberg? That's the witness you really needed to hear from. He was the guy. You heard that from the prosecution, and they didn't call him. What are they hiding?
So, Danny, a couple days ago, you kind of said that you thought there was a possibility that Trump would testify here. What do you think vis-a-vis Weisselberg?
I want to make clear, I was only taking that bet as an underdog because if I were right, it would have been legendary. And of course, no one will remember that I'm obviously wrong.
Trial's not over yet.
Your credibility is on the line.
Yes.
What do you do with Weisselberg?
You don't, I mean, the prosecution is not calling him. They said so on Friday. On Friday, it became apparent they never even explored subpoenaing him. My sense was they had decided long ago that he is not someone they want to touch. They don't want to bring him in, and they want to prove their case with documents and testimonial evidence that obviates the need for Alan Weisselberg. He's too risky. Michael Cohen, you need. But Alan Weisselberg, you don't necessarily need because you have his documents, you have his handwriting, you have people who interacted with him, and you avoid that risk. Alan Weisselberg is too big a risk. You simply don't know what he's going to say. Or, as Misty said, he might take the fifth. He could do all kinds of different things. So you don't call him if you can make your case about him. And I'm sure the prosecution knows that what's coming in closing is going to be what you call the empty chair defense. They're going to point to that empty chair and say, this is the real bad guy, and the reason they didn't call him is they were afraid of them. Or why didn't they call him, why didn't they have this man explain to you what was really going on? What are they hiding? I expect that's going to be a theme. That, and you blow up the documents that don't have Donald Trump's signature on them, and you try to persuade one juror using that argument. Am I saying this is a compelling argument? Probably not. But could you maybe convince one juror?